My name is Antonio Giraldi, and I'm the owner of HARDBITE Studio, a freelance brand identity, graphic design, and advertising business or studio. I've been doing this for a little over 6 months now, and I just wanted to give a brief overview of what I do and some of the things that I've learned and failed at, so that if you are somebody that's already operating or considering or still in school trying to figure out if you want to do freelance or go into a corporate role, what do I want to do? And I just wanted to give and shed a little bit of light on some of the things I've learned and some of the hurdles I've had to get over in the past 6.5 months that have led me to a place that's further than the starting point. I by no means have been growing at this insane pace. I believe that it's been very steady, which is honestly what I have is more than I could ever really ask for, because where I am currently is further than what I imagined I would be at. So that's a good thing. And it comes from one, having a background in professional design. I've been working in the design world for about 7 years now. I've been working as an art director for about 4 years now, just in the field professionally for about seven, like I said. I went to university to get a formal education and a bachelor's degree in design and advertising. And it has been something completely different than anything I've experienced so far as a designer. And it's a good thing, but it's also comes with its own set of challenges. One of the things that I'll briefly mention before getting into just what I've learned is that I never had to sell myself really outside of an interview, of course, when I'm applying for a job. And this will be relevant in a few different instances that I go over. But I never had to sell anything other than my work, my designs, and I could talk about that stuff all day till I turn purple and give background and reasoning as to why. And I'm working on getting better at like the storytelling, the strategic way of presenting these things in terms of like myself and who I am, and making business introductions and elevator pitches and refinements. That stuff is completely foreign to me, and still I'm have so much room to grow in that department. But from the very beginning, I've never had to experience any of that, especially when I've been working in one place for so long. I'm now even years and years removed from interviewing, and that alone has just been relearning and understanding, because when you're interviewing for somewhere, it's really easy to find the context in which you're interviewing for, and if it's for a specialized type of design and there's a certain set of clients, you can frame the conversation around that. But when it comes to something like making business introductions, you don't know who you're talking to at first, especially if you don't know this person at all and you're networking. You don't know what they do, and you're there to find out. And this is not something where it's like I have to figure out exactly who this person is before I start talking to them, but um, you have to give a general introduction that is in a way that's palatable for people to understand what you do, because as designers or just in any field that you're in, whether it's like, music production, photography, any of that stuff, there's certain words and lingo that you understand that nobody else in the world will understand. So you have to try to generalize what you do enough to where people know what you're talking about and don't see it as this like alien language when you talk about like kerning and leading and all this stuff and words that mean completely different things in this like the general language. One of the things I had to learn at first, like anybody starting a business, is actually starting. We're not starting to look for clients yet. We're forming our business and what we're doing. We're coming up with the plan and the services that we want to provide, and understanding like where are our strengths and where are some of the things that we can improve. That like, yes, we're going to offer this as a business service, but this isn't going to be like a premier service that you highlight when speaking to a client. Like for me, I offer and have worked in website design. That's not something that I am fully skilled at in all platforms. I know some people that are basically like machines in Framer or WordPress and all that. I that's not me. I am very much stronger in brand identity and just general advertising that I mention that first. Even in like the list in which I order my services, I'm conscious of where those things fall because I don't want to just be like, oh, hey, I'm Antonio. I'm a web designer. I also do graphic design. That's the order of operations isn't making sense there. But starting your business, thinking about the name, thinking about the domain names, the handles for social media, and all that stuff. I see so many people that kind of forego like being thoughtful when it comes to that stuff, and you see people with some really like tough like social media handles, and I'm not saying like make your business name based off of like what's available on Instagram, but it doesn't hurt to consider that when it goes into it, because if I wasn't able to find HARDBITE Studio and it had to be like hard.bite_studio, it would have been a mess and it would have been annoying to just have on a business card. And that's something to consider too, is that like it has to be legible on all scales, like not just your logo, but also the words. So when I picked HARDBITE Studio, I figured that name was just something that was a little bit more attention grabbing than just like Antonio Giraldi designs. And it just seemed more fun, and I could have more fun with the branding. Like the logo's a dog. The logo doesn't necessarily have this deep background that means anything, but I just think it's something interesting visually that helps differentiate me from a lot of like the market. And it's not this crazy beyond convention logo, but it's just something that when people see it, they're like, what do you do? Like, what is this? And it opens up a lot of conversation, more so than I thought. So when you're starting your business, try to consider all of those things, but don't stir on a lot of that stuff, because what you do as a business is going to stand out way more than necessarily what your business name is, what your logo is, and a lot of that stuff goes into giving meaning to your logo, your name, your brand colors. And your first branding project, honestly, as a freelance designer, should be yourself. You should be your first client. And please do not minimize at all that. More so than like your portfolio pieces, people are going to look at like, how does this person present themselves? And they're their own client, and their website looks like crap, and their logo doesn't make all that much sense, and like it's too busy. A lot of that stuff, this is your kind of like place to really put your best foot forward. If you're coming from a place where you can't share a lot of your portfolio work, the stuff that I've done professionally and I'm currently doing is not stuff I can necessarily share with everybody on a public platform, because of just certain statistics, copy, and things that are going into the work. So I also had to make new work for my portfolio. So a lot of these things are personal projects, and you want to make projects based around what you want to do. So when I was building out and fleshing out projects for my HARDBITE Studio portfolio, a lot of it was brand identity. A lot of it went into product design. A lot of it went into digital advertising, physical advertising, and regardless of what time and age we live in, we see advertisements everywhere. So you can do some really fun things with advertising, especially on a print scale. There's a lot of versatility there, and I wanted to try to show that as best as possible. And I believe I did a good job. One of the things that I found myself spending a lot of time on, and I had to tell myself, it's like, think big picture, is trying to get this website down as best as possible. The website and the web builder. As a designer, it's really tough to use some platforms such as like Squarespace and Wix, because you are very limited in certain ways. I know there's a few that are a lot more freeform. I think ReadyMag is one of them, and I I don't know or have too much experience with them. I have heard of it, and I think I've done a trial sometime in the past, and it was pretty sleek. But um, get a website out there that's well designed and has your portfolio. It does not need to be perfect, because getting to that perfect point is going to keep you from starting. So understand yourself and where your shortcomings are and where you try to perfect and refine, you have to forego that. You have to just get it to a point where it is serviceable and you can start running your business. The first month that I was starting my business, I was trying to find clients, of course, and I always wanted to start at least with clients in person and work with small businesses. And I've been working, like I said, in an advertising role for the past 4 years, and I'll, it's been fully remote job. So I don't know if anybody's had to design or finish up college from a remote perspective, but it's difficult. It's difficult in any capacity, and with design where it's so collaborative, and you're going from this place where you have like room full of students and your peers and friends that you can just like get quick feedback on work for, like that stuff is gone. You can supplement it in certain ways, but there's a lot of it that does get lost and it's hard to translate to a digital space. And I've also had clients so far that have been from that digital space, and being able to run your own business allows you to implement certain ways of onboarding or just meeting that are supplementing as much as you can. So in my case, if I'm meeting with a client digitally, I set up a long call, block out their time, and have them understand like, hey, we're going to chat. We're going to get to know each other. This is kind of like a first date with a client. And it's more than just talking about the work right away. I try on my first call to not really talk about the work until like the last third or fourth of the call, because I want to understand who it is I'm designing for, who is the person behind the business, who is the man or woman that is like running the ship here, and what are the things that they like and dislike. And I've learned so much, and that's helped me guide my designs and has saved a lot of time and knowing what they're gravitated to. And that's helped, save time on revisions, because now I know that they hate this type of font, they hate this type of business logo, they hate these colors. And it's silly, but like when you ask a client their favorite color, but you could ask them anything, and a lot of people love talking about themselves. So when you ask questions, you get nuggets of information that are absolutely important in pretty much any conversation. But so I was trying to find a client, and the way I went about it was completely wrong, which I found out at the end of this like brief period in time. So the first month, I decided, I was like, all right, I've worked on one set of clients professionally for a long time. I want to work with small businesses, and I want to especially try working with coffee shops. I consume probably a family's worth of coffee in a month. I am not a unique experience. There's coffee shops everywhere and still popping up and new stuff all the time. And they do really cool work. A lot of them do really cool work, and a lot of them, it's hard to compete. And when you have these like big conglomerates like Dunkin' and Starbucks and Tim Hortons, it's difficult to, be in that same realm just visually. So I thought it was really interesting to try to go after a client like that. So this what I did was I went on ChatGPT, and I live in New Jersey. So I typed in, make me a list of 60 small businesses, including coffee shops, boutique clothing stores, and maybe another business or two, and make me a list going from North Jersey all the way down to the Jersey Shore. And I had a list. I tried to then go and try to find all of the information that I can for follow-up emails. I found their business hours. I found their peak hours, so that way I made sure to try to get there before or after, so that I wasn't like in a crowd of people trying to say something. And it helped me refine my pitch because I had a lot of exposure. So I would drive to all of those shops. I downloaded this like trucking and logistics app, and I put every single one of those addresses in there. And then I separated it out my month into like 4 weekends, where me and one of my best friends, we went, and he drove with me, and we went to all these different places. And I would go in. I have a pamphlet, just like a one pager front and back, where it was like, my name is Antonio Giraldi. I am a freelance designer. And I would ask them like, how do you advertise and X, Y, and Z? And I would try to understand their work a little bit beforehand. I would check their social media, see what they've been doing, and I would try to have a conversation about it. In some places, people were really open to having a conversation and they were really interested. And in a lot of other places, they were not. And it's hard to kind of inject yourself in this person's day to solicit your business. And in hindsight, I definitely would not have started by doing it this way because I also was not used to selling myself, like I mentioned earlier. So I was just stumbling and bumbling into these places, and I was like, hey, yeah, just super nervous. And it was difficult, but it helped me selfishly get better at approaching random people that I've never met. And while I knew what they did because they were obviously the owners of the businesses, I had to refine how I just made this elevator pitch shorter and shorter and shorter because some places I would make an introduction and that was it. Like that would be the introduction. I wouldn't even have a follow-up conversation after I reached out, and which I understand, and this is not anybody's fault. I'm just walking in there approaching you. And in a couple places, they were like, "Oh, come sit down. Let's have a little bit more of a conversation." If they had the time, of course. And we had a little bit more of a conversation where I was more comfortable going in depth, and I understood like this is where I could draw out the conversation a bit. But trying to condense that was really tough, and I learned that I learned how to get better at that. But I went to, I'm telling you, like 60 different businesses over the course, I think, of like August. And I went from, I mean, the boonies of North Jersey all the way down to the shore, and all these different businesses, all these different people. I got zero clients, not a single one, not even close to one, in my opinion. And I now had to figure out, okay, now what am I going to do? Because that didn't work. So I was looking online and I found networking events. The one that has helped me the most was the local chamber of commerce. Wherever you live, I'm sure that they have a chamber of commerce. I think this is a global kind of thing that's being adopted, especially in the United States. I believe almost any town or county has their own chamber of commerce. And I went to my local chamber of commerce. They had networking events and they host them monthly. But the cool thing is with chamber of commerce events, you can go to any chamber of commerce event that you want and network with people that are outside of your town, outside of your state, even, I'm sure. And while if you're not a member of these things, you do have to pay a fee to go. But what I paid in doing a month leading to no clients was probably like triple what I've paid so far in Chamber of Commerce meetings. Like I'm telling you, I think I've paid like $400 or $500 of my own money in just printing materials, printing business cards, printing folders to put them in, and then gas, wear and tear on the car to go all the way up and down the state. Whereas like Chamber of Commerce events, I've probably been to like 10 or 12 so far, and at like $10 to $20 each, it's I've been able to make that money back in multiples, which is a good thing. So I'm getting ahead of myself, but at my third Chamber of Commerce meeting, which they're just very lightweight networking events, everybody's there for the exact same reason. So people approach you, you approach people, you say, "Hey, my name is Antonio Giraldi. I own X, Y, and Z. What do you do?" And then immediately the conversation is just purely about business and their service and what they do and who they are. And on my third Chamber of Commerce meeting, I met my first client, and that client I still work with to this day. We've been building a really good rapport. We've done a lot of awesome work together, and it came from something I never even knew existed or thought of when I was starting my business. So I would say maybe if I were to start over again, I would probably do a little bit more research on the types of ways of networking or the types of ways that you can do client outreach. I know a lot of people talk about like cold emailing and cold calling some places or making postcards and mailing them out to places. Those may work. I have not tried some of these, and I was nervous with cold emailing because I didn't want my Google Workspace to get like flagged for spam for like future purposes. So I was nervous about that. some of those may work. I'm sure. And I'm sure if I went long enough and I went to enough businesses, somebody would have gotten a bite. But just for like the time and money investment, because remember, like, design is not art. Art is not a service. It can be a service, but it's not with the intention of being a service. Design is a service. Design can be artistic and you could be doing design for yourself, but design is not art. So if you're going into this into a business, if you want to be a successful business, you need to make money. And to make money, you need to be not losing it faster than you're making it. I'm been going on for a little long. I want to summarize this by saying, and it's generic, but a lot of things sound generic and cliche because it's just true, is that you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm an introverted person by nature, and I can talk and I love to talk when I'm comfortable in a situation or scenario or with certain people, but by default this is not a comfortable space for me to be in at all. It's taken me a long time to try to put a camera in front of my face and make a video like this. But I want to try to contribute back to what has helped me, and what has helped me was consuming other media about people being graphic designers or just freelancing in general, because there's also just experiences that you can hear about from a business perspective. For HARDBITE Studio, 20% of my time is actually designing stuff, and that may not sound the most attractive to students or people that work in a corporate job and are considering freelancing, but I mean, that is what it is. You are now a business owner. You are now in trying to get into an entrepreneurial mindset. And I try to think about all the time is like, how can I get more clients? How can I get more clients? How can I do it differently? And over time, what I found myself is like, okay, I've worked with a couple different types of clients. Like I've worked with a business consultant, a preschool. I've worked with a donut store. I've worked with a church. I've worked with a bunch of different types of clients. And now I'm slowly getting into the mindset of like, okay, let's funnel this into a niche. And now what I'm doing personally or for my business is trying to figure out like how to find clientele within this niche. So I have experience with these types of clients. I now know how to talk to these people a certain way. I know what type of work is involved in running one of these businesses. So now I'm able to go out and try to target a little bit smarter than just like generally going out there and being like, okay, like throwing it all out there, who's gonna hire me? Just be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I know I've been in design school. A lot of us are introverted people. And I don't mean this in a rude way, because I mean just by nature, being a designer or just like artistic is to be solitary, I guess. There's a lot of just time by yourself behind these computers and monitors and stuff, refining your work. And that stuff is one small aspect of running a freelance design agency or studio business, whatever the differences are. I don't know. But try to practice understanding what you're going to say. I ramble. I probably rambled on in this video, so sorry if this is not concise. I'm getting to the point where I just want to make content how I make content, and stopping trying to think about it so much. And that's another thing too, is like, it's uncomfortable to not perfect your work. As a designer, I want to push it and push it and push it and push it and push it. And there's this fine line that you have to understand, that like, this is where we stop adding things. And this is where we start maybe removing things. So when it comes to building your website, when it comes to thinking of your business name, when it comes to thinking of your business logo and any of the materials you're going to start printing, just go and get it to a place where it is good. It doesn't need to be great. A lot of people don't come out of the gate swinging. If it's gonna stop you from operating as a business and putting yourself out there, do not keep pushing it, because the whole point is to get real world experience and real world clients. And you may meet a client that has introduced you to more and more clients, where you had to go to one networking event, two networking events, 10 networking events, and that's paid you back 10 to 100 times, over. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment. Let me know. Again, I haven't been doing this very long. I'm going to make a little bit more content. If I wrote about this topic in particular on my website's blog, I'm not trying to push my blog on you on my website, but let me know what you think. I mean, please visit my website. Please subscribe. I'm going to try doing some more videos, and pretty much any video that I'm going to do, I have a couple ideas, is going to also be connected to a blog that I'm also going to post on my agency or studio or business, whatever it is, site. And it's going to just expand on a little bit. So if you want a more condensed version and you want to share it with somebody, go check out the blog page. It'll be somewhere. But please subscribe. Good luck. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm more than happy to get in there and start replying in depth. And if it's a good enough topic, I'm more than happy to just talk about it more in another video. So please, thank you. Be safe. Goodbye.